All right, so here we are again. I think everyone knows about these rules here. Curious, respectful, get to the point, show up to each session, video on. And there's a whole bunch of AI agents just hanging out in the waiting room right now. Take that, AI agents. Um, Show me your passport.
This
Okay, so
might be retaliating from yesterday.
yeah, completely. So I don't like I had a major glitch happen on my appointment system that I was solving all day yesterday, and I managed to solve it by the end of the day by basically firing the original appointment system and changing it over. So I just went to good old fashioned Calendly instead and embedded it into the website. So that'll hopefully work out better. Okay, great. So continuing on here. Uh, Here's our format. We're going to talk about leadership archetypes today, and then we'll have some time to kind of dig into this a little bit as we build this out. So I'm going to share this right out of the gate. Okay, so we're doing 90 minutes. We've got the Mastermind community on WhatsApp. We've got the school where all the recordings are going, including the backlog. And then I've got these two groups over here. There's going to be a few more things coming on the pipeline. I sent out an email update on some of the things that are going on that side. I'll share this right out of the gate. The next session will be January 30th of 2026. So that'll be the next session. So just keep that in mind, put that on your calendar, and we'll update that. And of course, if you know anyone who would benefit from these sessions, then for sure invite them in. Okay, so today we're talking about leadership archetypes. So as we're kind of building out our businesses and growing into whatever you want your business to look like, there's different cycles and different stages that people will have. And so when we're looking at where are you, you're probably going to be in one of three stages. You're either in that I need people, I'm going to bring people in. I have people, are they the right people? Or I need to grow, and therefore I need more people to add to the people I already have. It's like one of those three areas generally. Now, if you're in a retraction cycle, you might sort of pull back and kind of go, okay, well, let me shed here a little bit. And that's fine. That's a perfectly natural thing to have happen. But functionally, what's the purpose of a business team? I'll pose that question straight out of the gate. What's the purpose?
To duplicate yourself. There's only one of you, so you need duplication.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, duplicating yourself. What else?
And let's say as an owner, we're not good salesperson. Do you want to duplicate that?
Yeah. So
I'm
cover.
just
So yeah.
asking the
So
question.
yeah. So covering
I'm not
areas
talking
that.
about me because I'm a very good salesperson. Okay, but seriously, no, I'm easy to sell. I sell, but I know some owners that are not good at sales.
Mhm.
So, do you mean, Ashley, that you want to duplicate the thinking of the owner? You want to duplicate whatever he has in his mind, or to really
Time.
duplicate?
Duplicate time. That's what I mean. Because you can only do so much in your 24 hours. So I was thinking about duplication of time, but totally, if you have weaknesses that you want to supplement for, if you want to go out and get expertise in other areas, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So
Have
yeah.
people do things that you don't want to do. I hate doing some stuff.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to have a situation where, yeah, you have coverage on stuff that you don't want to do, or where is your time more valuable, and you're hiring for expertise. Now there's this classic thing that happens, right? Where generally when you're starting a business, a whole bunch of specialists arrive and they become generalists, and then over time they become specialists again. So that's definitely something that that occurs for sure. So let's take a look at a little bit. I'm going to show you a picture here. And I'm going to share with you a bit of backstory around this picture. So we're talking about this, right? Building a resilient leadership team. And here's a little bit about why I chose this picture. First of all, this is Aprilia, Team Aprilia and MotoGP. And I ride Aprilia motorcycles, both on track and on road. So they are the team that I've been behind for quite a while. This is Marco Bezzecchi in the middle here. He came in first podium on this particular race. He's the number 2 rider on this team. Now, the number 1 rider on the team is injured almost the entire season. Jorge Martin, he was a previous world champion. He was riding with Gresini Ducati. Got super injured at the beginning of the season. And Marco Bezzecchi basically ended up being the guy that had to sort of hold the mantle for this year. And here's a little bit of backstory around Team Aprilia. So Aprilia was very successful in World Superbike. Now, World Superbike and MotoGP are slightly different. World Superbike is basically a factory bike that they soup up, like they tune to the nines, and they take like a $50,000 motorcycle and turn it into like a $300,000 motorcycle. And then they race those, but they're pretty close to what you could go and buy from the showroom floor. A MotoGP bike is like, you can't buy that bike. Like the amount of research and development, like if you tried to do the math, I don't know, maybe they're $3 to $5 million, right? For the motorcycle, right? But like, it's like, you can't buy one, but if you had to figure it out, that's what it would be. So Aprilia made a decision that they were going to give up World Superbike and focus completely on MotoGP, because MotoGP is the creme de la creme. It's the F1 of motorcycle racing. And they came in as 4-time world champions from World Superbike and had over 150 podiums and over 52 championship wins. Okay. So we're talking like they came in at the pinnacle. They came into MotoGP as last. And they built their team from 2015 to 2021. They were completely behind. In that era, they had 1 podium. 6 years. 1. Not a first place, just podium. Okay, so you go from a team that was like 52 race wins and over 150 podiums to 6 years of 1 podium. And this team has been overseen by their principal, or the CEO of the company, which is Massimo Rivola. He's the CEO of Aprilia as a whole, and he's at every single race. And he was like, I need a guy. And so he got one guy who became the anchor as far as who was going to be his key rider, which was Aleix. He just retired 2 years ago, but now he's a test rider for a different team. And he had Lorenzo Savadori, who's a great test rider, but not a great racer. Okay. And he stuck to them. Just held on tight and did not let go. So as you can see, here's the number 2 rider in this last season with a number 1 podium place. So in 2023, they got 2 wins. And by 2024 into 2025 season, they had 7 wins. So this is like a massive belief in the team on how are you going to build this out. There were times where the CEO changed approach. There was times where he pushed it down. And there was something very, very important that they had as well, is that the main issue that Aprilia was having is that they have proprietary technology on how their motorcycles operate. And in MotoGP, you're not allowed to use that. In World Superbike, you can. In MotoGP, everyone has to use the same internal computer system. They couldn't make the things talk to each other. So he hired a chief technical director. So he hired Fabiano Sterlicini, these are Italian guys, right? As the technical director, and they just worked on it. And they worked on it, worked on it. They did these other things, like they would support like Pikes Peak racers and stuff, and they would use their MotoGP technology in these other side things going on, so they could refine the process over here, over here, over here, over here, over here. And now they're considered the top 3 teams in MotoGP. They have a satellite team, and they are a contender. They were a contender this year. They're a contender for world championship title now. So 2015 they entered. We're at 2025. They're going into 2026 years, 11 years to try to get to that position. So there's one rider in this picture. That rider does not succeed without the whole team that's there celebrating beside him. And this is without their champion, the guy who won the series the year before, who's supposed to be holding that podium. Marco Bezzecchi carried the mantle. Huge. Okay. So I'm highlighting this because in sports, it's easy to see wins, and it's easy to see metrics, and it's easy to see how do you build a winning team. And this happens because you fill the archetypes. If you fill the archetypes correctly, and you look at your org chart and you fill the archetypes, you'll have success. So let's start diving into this and understanding archetypes a little bit and why it's important. First one is it can't rely on individual brilliance. If you're trying to rely on individual brilliance, it's going to be super, super challenging. This is the hardest part to get out of in the beginning. It's like, well, I get it, but no one else gets it. Okay. Your goal is to get everyone else to get it. You need a balanced and diverse leadership across your team. So what are they capable of doing? What are you capable of doing? What are they capable of doing? Can you cover all the bases? If you can identify what these key leadership archetypes are, then you can address where your gaps are in your business, and you can identify where you're strong. Have you doubled down too hard on a specific area? Do you need to cover some of the other seats? And you can take on more challenges. So this ability to sort of really build in this roster is super important. Okay, so this is kind of like the overview of what I'm talking about. Okay, but before we get into this, I'm going to talk about this planet. All right, so we're gonna talk about Mars here for a second. It's like, why are we talking about Mars? So Jim Collins, Good to Great, living that business group mindset. He's got this idea of developing the Mars group in your business. Anyone heard of this? Developing the Mars group? Okay, so it works like this. You want to recreate every single best attribute, and I'll stop here for a second. You want to recreate every single attribute in your organization on another planet. So you're like, I want my company to live, to exist on Mars. But you only have a few seats on the ship. 4, 5, 6, maybe no more than 7. Who do you send? Who would be able to do it? It's like, okay, that's a good mental exercise. Now, what would these people have to represent? Like core values, your underlying purpose. They'd have to be collaborative, work with the other people around them to make sure that they can survive. They have to have high levels of competence. And so when you're looking at your org chart or you're looking at the teams that you work with, who would you send to represent and build your company on Mars? That's the fundamental question. Okay, so we've got this beautiful planet over here. Boom. Who are you going to send there? Like if you look at your team and you're like, oh man, I am not sending so and so to Mars to go represent my company and build my company on Mars, then you should really look at that person and go, okay, this might be a concern for me. Now the people that immediately come to mind, why do they come to mind? Because they probably are manifesting the thing that you care about the most in your business. It's like they understand it, they get it, they get the mission. And they cover all the bases. I thought this was really great. Now here's the thing, AKA you, the owners or the top officers of the owner organization can't go. You just have to give the mandate of what you'd like to see. They have to go represent it. And then what's going to happen is that once they get it going, you're going to come in and sort of like tweak and dial and do all this stuff so that the Mars group has the final version that you fully agree with. So there's your Mars mission. Now, who could potentially be on this roster? So if you're building out a team or you have a team and you have a team size, who are you going to send to Mars to go replicate your business? Okay. Here's 7 essential leadership archetypes. We're going to go into all of these. Yeah, my AI agent, for sure. Okay, we're going to go through all of these. The visionary, the architect or the strategist, the operator, the person who could really execute, your coach and developer, the communicator and connector, your cultural champion, also your diplomat, and your financial steward and your resource manager. So these are the archetypes that we're going to talk about. The way I broke out the slides is you're going to kind of see what that person's focus is, why it matters to them, where they are represented, and some archetypes. I picked 3. I picked a historical archetype, a present day archetype, and a mythological archetype. And so if you have an org chart, or you start writing down sort of the key people who would be on your Mars mission, what I want you to do is beside them, start writing down, is this person that, or are they this? Like, are they my operator? Or are they my cultural champion? Are they my, like who are they in this realm? And then who am I in this realm as well? Because you might not be the one that you think you are. Okay, so let's start with the visionary. This is what they focus on. Long-term direction, innovation, new market opportunities. In the 5 pillars of business, this person is very heavily focused on pillars 3, 4, and 5. Business development, vertical integration, horizontal integration, merger acquisition, expansion. Okay, so that's sort of the focus of where they are. They have to understand the purpose. Now, what's the difference between a purpose and a mission? Purpose is even greater than a vision statement. Like what's a purpose? Who wants to explain to me what the purpose of it in business is?
I guess I think of it like a North Star, like your purpose is your North Star, and you can have many missions towards it, but like your overarching North Star, like, yeah, that's
like the guiding light. Yeah,
exactly.
The purpose is never achievable. It's like, what? What do you mean it's never achievable? Yeah, the purpose is never achievable. So I've got a mission statement for my company. To transform your business so you can operate at peak efficiency by developing your people and systems. That's my mission statement. I've got a set of core values: ambition, drive, gratitude, and acceptance. But what's my purpose? My purpose is to help business owners achieve their dreams while not losing themselves in the process. That's never not going away. My mission might change. My core values probably won't change. But this whole idea of like, can I help you get the thing you want without losing yourself as we get there? Right? Like, this idea of you didn't start your business to be miserable, right? You didn't start your business to like fall into a state of mental despair by the end of it. It's like, that's not a good hero's journey, right? So that's like a purpose. So to be able to distill down the purpose of a business is a lot of what the visionary has to address. Sony had a purpose when, like, post World War II, where they said basically made in Japan should mean something. What? So, holy bananas. Like, you look at made in Japan, made in China, those are two different things. Right? And this is a country that was decimated post World War II. Empire collapsed, right? Like, it rose from the ashes. So it's like this whole idea of like that's the purpose. Henry Ford had the purpose to democratize the automobile, that every working person should have access to an automobile. Man, that's a big purpose. So it's like this whole idea of like, does a visionary have more than just the utility or just the financial statement or just the financial goals? And this is different than a massive like 5-10 year goal plan, because the purpose never goes away. Martin Luther King, right? I have a gene. It's like, oh wow, okay, the like powerful purpose here, right? So who's the visionary in your company? It's often the owner or the person who started it. Now, separate from like what, say, EOS or Traction says, I don't think the visionary can just like go hang out and be like, all right, cool, like I'm just going to envision what's possible all the time. No, they have to still do stuff in the business. So that's an important consideration. But knowing what the visionary can do and where's that archetype going to live, super important. If you want to get drive out of your workforce, the visionary has to be very articulate. Like, if they can articulate what's going on, then that's going to be super important. Okay, I'm going to roll through these here, and then we're going to have some conversation about it. This is the architect. So this is like creating organizational structure, processes. This person is like taking complex ideas and distilling them down. Planning, operational design, all that stuff. For those of you who are working directly with me, you know that I play some role of strategist architect in your development. What if you do it like this? What if you do it like that? Right? But who is this? Tim Cook to Steve Jobs. Right? So the strategist actually can take strategy and start to make sense of it. So it's not flighty. Now, some visionary owners are also owners/strategists, but not always. Sometimes they have a hard time translating it. How do they get it there? Now, this is a very important quality to have in your business. Who's good at creating actionable plans, processes, org structure, all that stuff. Who's like, yeah, you know what? Like that's a strength for me. You know, when I was in operations role, this was primarily what I did with businesses. You know, now I do it from a consulting perspective, but it's the same thing. This is the operator. A lot of times people get this one and this one confused. They think the architect and the operator are the same thing. Now you might have people who have multiple roles, but they have very, very different things. This is like day to day, can I get things done? It's all about execution. Did we hit our targets? Were the deadlines hit, et cetera, et cetera. The strategist architect builds the structure that the operator can work in. So this is a important requirement. So what's your skill set in this, right? This is your Mars mission team, right? This is your coach or developer who's upskilling your team, who's building that team culture. How is that happening? What's the employee engagement cycle look like? You know, this is performance management, feedback, team building.
That could be the chief of sales and maybe the chief operational chief. Two
Oh,
people.
like the COO type of role.
That would
Yeah,
be the CEO. Oh yeah.
it could be the CEO as
Okay.
well. Yeah, absolutely. Like you know, I know a lot of CEOs who are great at this. Like really, really good at making sure that this happens. I also know other ones who are like terrible at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's this one CEO I was having a conversation with him, and he's like, "Man, my company would be great if only the people would get it." I was like, oh, "Okay, that's an interesting statement." I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe someone else should develop your team. It's like, yeah, I don't have time
Yeah.
for them. Can they just do stuff?
Yeah. Okay. Because
So,
all these, when you're a smaller business, maybe all of these first four could be the same person.
mhm,
And then since you get let's say over 5 million, and then you separate some functions, and then further on, the coach
completely.
developer.
Yep,
Hmm.
100%.
Because I see a coach in the sales, and I see a coach developer in the operation. So you see that. Hmm.
Hmm.
But it could be also the CEO because he has all his teams, and he coached them and he developed the relation, and then brings them to be better, you know, aiming at a goal, making sure they're on track. But yeah, all depends on the size.
I would warn one thing with this role. A lot of people confuse the HR director to become this person. I have
Oh, I don't confuse.
seldom seen
No,
that
I
work.
don't see the HR there.
No,
I don't see an HR to being a coach or a developer.
no.
Anybody sees an HR director there?
The amount of companies that try to put the HR director into this role as a default, they're like, oh, you know what? We really need someone to drive our culture and you know, to really
Oh,
develop our
okay, so
people, and they hire an HR. It's like that's what you decided to do. You went with an HR administrator to try to do that. I mean,
okay, I see.
I mean, this is fundamentally what the role of HR is. HR's role is not only to deal with the administrative aspects, but HR's role is functionally there to protect the company. And so their trust level between teams, employees, leaders to HR is always got this line of like, guarded capacity, like every single time. So yeah, I'm glad you noticed that, Sylvain, that HR is not this role, unless you really had someone who's like fantastic at people culture, has led teams, and then has learned HR later. Sometimes that could be
Maybe
beneficial.
maybe a helper, not a catalyst, but maybe a supporter of the mission. Always going back to the mission when he's having meetings with the employees, encountering everybody. Let's go back to the mission, but not being the visionary or the strategic art. No, 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 no. I don't see that
Mm-hmm.
to be the coach or the developer. But I see a portion where the philosophy of the enterprise is brought forth by the HR director. I see some things, but the coach, the developer, no.
Yep, completely. And you know what? I'm actually gonna share something here. This is business units. Let me bring up business units whiteboard. I'm going to switch to this for a moment. This is how I see HR falling into this. Let me just quickly reframe this so that it's the correct size. It normally snaps to in a moment. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's a whole bunch of business units, right? Owner, director, sales, your strategy, product development, et cetera, et cetera. This is how I see HR coming in. So here's your ownership. Let me grab a laser pointer. Okay, here's your owner, director up over here. Your team is all represented here. So down over here, cultural matrix lives underneath your strategy, values, ethos, mission statement. Your HR lives over here. They are fulfilling policy, training programs, and then they are implementing this tied to whatever your cultural assessment is. So there's a collaboration on it, but it is independent line. I did not put HR under here. So when I'm helping build out larger business teams, this is the structure that I use. And
Yeah, that's
HR,
nice.
yeah, HR lives to the side. It's adjacent to, it's not underneath this area. A lot of people stick HR right underneath here or right above here. It's a major problem.
Can I ask about this,
Yeah,
Edwin? Because I'm super curious. Where do you put people strategy? So understanding how many people to hire, who are the key hires, the recruitment strategy, how the people tie into the business strategy. Where do you put that on here?
like, are you talking about capacity management?
No, I'm talking about like you have the business vision, now you need to execute it. That requires hiring people, onboarding people, recruiting for people. It
Yeah, so I would
requires,
put that here. I'd put that under
okay,
your
under
HR
policy.
policy. But your HR policy on your onboarding training program, 30, 60, 90, 6+1 type of thing, has to push into this. But you see, it's not in the same line. It's slightly separated. Because the thing is that your values and your ethos is actually what's driving your onboarding structure. Ty, we've had lots of discussions about this. Do you want to kind of share your experience of something that we've implemented with your company?
Um, yeah, we've implemented a lot, but I think it's hard to portray it, I guess, when we've been growing our team quite quickly. So we've implemented a full process for hiring. So, again, that was a big undertaking and brought somebody on to help with that. Was doing multiple roles. I think the big one, we're having some, an issue right now with two individuals on our team. And I think like one of the big ones that we always drive back to is like, are they upholding, to chatting with Edwin this week was like, are they upholding? Let's look at your values, right? The problem's the problem, but we went straight back to values to start it off, right? We've created all these processes. That's not changed. That's still implemented. There's some gaps there that we missed in terms of getting feedback, better feedback from our team. But I think, really it's always going to go back to protecting the team and are we upholding our values? So if it makes sense or helps, I guess.
Yeah. So it's like this idea of, you've got your onboarding structures and whatnot. So, your team size is going to be based off of so many different factors, right? What's our capacity? How many people are we trying to bring in? What's the fulfillment cycle? Who can cover what bases? What's the size of your business? On and on and on. But I always like to go policy light, values, ethos heavy. Like it's way easier. Like let's say that we have the value in a company that has collaboration. Okay. Well, actually, that's one of your guys' values there, Todd. And so you've got collaboration as a core value. And someone is just not doing that. You can have, a sit down and say, hey, you know what? Like you had a breach of our policy around XYZ, where you could sit down and say, hey, you know what? One of our core values is collaboration, and we're not seeing that right now. We're seeing you kind of being more manipulative and a little bit disrespectful. And to me, that doesn't seem to collaboration. And so you have a values discussion as opposed to necessarily a policy discussion. Now the policy backs it up and says, if you don't come in line with our values or come in line with our ethos or come in line with our principles, this is what's going to happen as far as our policy is concerned. But you don't lead with the policy. The policy is like the frame of the car, and the rest is the engine.
I get where you're coming from. I think I was just wondering, because I couldn't see the full picture, if for some reason like the people strategy piece in your structure lives somewhere else. Because often people think of HR as kind of a catch-all, and the bigger a company gets, it usually breaks out into functions, right? You have a full-on recruitment team, talent strategy lives in this piece under the HR umbrella, and then you've got the actual policy umbrella. And so I was just curious if
I think it's here. I think the thing that you just mentioned, I think it's here. It's inside your cultural matrix, your cultural assessment. And then capacity, I would deal completely separate. With capacity, I would deal capacity over here in operations. Do we have the right capacity to fulfill our operational cycle relative to our sales? So, this is more of a business unit look. And then with this, when you're looking at the leadership archetypes, you start going, who's covering which unit? Right. So like what Sylvain was saying, he was like, the coach developer, I could see them being tied here. It's like, yeah, I agree. I think that is a lot of times where you see it. It could also be somewhere up here in the owner director level, but this is more about like, where's the entire business unit covering, and do you have it covered?
Wouldn't you want the coach developers, like in my mind, anyone that's in a critical leadership position, wouldn't you want to be pushing heavy on leadership or with the coach kind of development on that side of things? Like if you can't mentor and coach and instill the company's values and all these things with the people below you, like that's to me like a big, I want that in every one of my team members. Doesn't mean they're all going to be good at it, but I think it's got to be something that's heavily focused on as good leaders, right? Like that's what a good leader is, really.
Yep. And so, just kind of bringing this, around here as well. I'm happy this slide has caused this level of conversation. Is, we talked about this in one of the group sessions recently as well. Is, the two goals in a company for any leadership role. Number one, if there's people in and around them, they have to be able to influence those people around them. If you have a leader who can't influence the people around them, you've got a major problem. Because then all they can do is use role power. Well, I'm your boss, so do it. Well, that sucks, right? You don't have trust, you don't have respect. Like, and influence requires all those other components: trust, respect, empathy, clarity, good communication, articulate. All those things are required to create influence. Then you've got the entrepreneurial part, which is their primary goal is to solve problems. So if you have a problem-solving mindset and you can influence your team, you can now influence your team to solve more problems. And now you've got a win-win scenario.
Yeah.
Okay, this one here. Communicator, connector, someone who's good at presenting, they network a lot. They make sure that silos are not being formed. I've got a company right now that's just expanded geographically. And this was a major concern was, are we going to lose the way that our company operates because we were going to be splitting across two different geographies? And so who's going to make sure that that maintains fidelity, right? How does it turn into like that other location is it's going to turn into a random other business unit? Effectively, it's like they sent some people to Mars. But before we did that, it was like, is this clear? So good oration skills are very, very important with this. Like, can someone actually articulate and orate what's going on, right? Is super important. Monty, I think your camera turned back on. So it's I'll get Monty to stop video here. So then this is also really important from the perspective of like, if you're a really complex organization and you've got like a board and on and on and on. If you're a smaller business, this is a very important archetype for change management. Like, change management requires really, really strong communicator connector archetype. And for the, you guys know, I like to use the Prosky ADKAR system for change management, to monitor change management in business units. Okay, so this is the diplomat, right? This is the person who's like the go-to and, hey, what's happening? And, a bit of more of an affiliative leader style. They're kind of like the role model in many cases, right? And they're like solving problems that are people problems and kind of working in this thing. So they're not necessarily driving for results like the coach does, but they're sort of maintaining the glue. This is the bedside manner leader in the team. And you need this. My experience with this particular role is that they are not great at deadlines. Like, it's just my experience. I know several people who fit this category, and it's like, okay, great, what are you working on? I'm like, yeah, kind of like they have this a little bit slightly more, hanging out at the beach type of energy on their team. So, but you get them together at the staff party, and they're the person who's like, hey, how's it going? And they're over there, and hey, how's it going? And they're over there, hey, how it's going? And everyone's like, oh yeah, that person really represents our company really, really well. So this is an important role, important archetype. And then this one's obvious. A lot of people put this person as the communicator. Be careful with that. It's like,
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it. Yeah, completely. Okay. So be very careful. Now, the reason why they put them as a communicator is because they have so much information, but they don't know how to disseminate that information in a way that is going to land. So you got to be very careful around this. But for someone who's really good at this, either from a controller standpoint or a future CFO standpoint, I find that those are very different demands. A lot of really good controllers are great at dealing with existing information, managing that information and saying, hey, here's what happened. Whereas a future financial steward is someone who can create scenarios around what's going to happen if we make these financial decisions. And I find that there's very few, if you find someone who can do both of those two things, like overpay them market value. But if you don't, then I would be a little bit more guarded against it. But you need someone who can manage your financial resources, look at risk, do all that sort of stuff. Okay, so here's what you need to do. Step one, in your team, what are the dominant archetypes? And where do you have massive blind spots on your team? Then you got to go, okay, well, how do I get that talent? One of my clients right now is hiring for a regional operations role. And internally, it doesn't look like there's someone who can do that role. So it's like, it's very, very focused industry, and they need that role. So they need to hire strategically for that missing archetype. So it would be the executor or architect type role. Probably be a hybrid of both of those two things. And then if you did a team audit, like where's your leadership strengths? And do you have an overdeveloped or underdeveloped level of that? And some people can do multiple, right? Some people are in multiple spaces. So, and it may shift as those growth arcs happen. Here's this one. So this is important to kind of take a look at. So just to go back to the beginning, these are the archetypes here. You know, for me, I'm definitely in number 2. I think I've developed a lot of skills, obviously, in number 4. Can I operate and execute? Yes. Is it the thing that I love to do every single day? No. So I have a hard skills for it, but I wouldn't say it's my passion. So, like, where are you? So when you guys look at this, where are you? Keaton, where are you in this?
I'm small enough that but I guess where I'm best or enjoy, strategist, and probably coach, or financial is a big one too. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm probably still, we only got 7 people, like 3 other full time on the team. So I still, each sheet or each slide, I'm like, yep. Except for maybe like culture champion or like operator, I'm actively leaving, like get me out of this, right?
Right. Okay. So now that's a unique position because of the size of your company. But let's say that we're starting a internationally sized property management company. Okay. We're going to be multinational.
Yeah.
And we need you to fill 1 or 2 of those seats. Which ones would you gravitate into? Because right now you're talking out of necessity as opposed to high level skill.
Skills is going to be like 3. What I would probably enjoy or want to do is like 2 and 4. And I'm, skilled in those areas too.
Mm-hmm. Joseph, where have you found you're up and coming and strong on the entrepreneurial frontier? Where does that sit with you?
I would say my natural inclination is number 2, to be more of a strategist or architect.
Yep. So that's this one here. I really enjoy this one myself personally as well. Now the difference between this one and the next one is that this is a builder, this is the executor, So I love building, you guys know this about me. I love building spreadsheets. I hate maintaining them. So this is me building a spreadsheet for you, and this is someone else maintaining it, right? And populating it week over week. So it's like, do you have that person? So, okay, cool. So you got the strategist, architect in there. Colin, where do you sit in this, in this?
Yeah, for myself, I feel like I'm kind of in the 5 and 6 box for the most part, but definitely a tinge of two as well.
Mm-hmm. So like here, communicator, connector, culture
Yeah.
champion.
When you did the analogy of going to the Christmas party and
Yeah.
saying hi to everybody, that's definitely me.
Right. Yep, for sure. Now, Sylvain, yeah, I think you've probably got the largest org structure in the room. I think David, you probably have the second largest org structure in the room. Sylvain, where's your primary focus?
Number one.
Number one, yeah.
Yeah,
And
number one.
what did you do to build out that team underneath you?
Well, 3.5 years ago, I did an acquisition that was bringing, like I say in French, one stone, you hit like two targets. So by having that bouquet maker acquired, we get also a bigger part of the pie of the bouquet sales in Quebec and Ontario, but we also have a bigger part in my imports of cut flower that are supplied in the bouquet organization. So those two. And like 16 months ago, we bought a bouquet maker and an importer. So they were like the biggest of the group. So our group was a little bit a tiny smaller than what we bought, and they were having all the executive like from HR to sales. Everything was there. All the org chart is very different than it's similar, but with all the names and the function. But this applies to different people, so it's like overlapping, like a blueprint. Like goes, some people are having like the three, but me at the moment, I'm the visionary because I am, you know what, at the moment, I'm implementing and I'm going to be the champion for that section for the AI curve that we're going to take in the company. So I've been 4 months in studying HI courses and everything, doing my personal assistant, virtual personal assistant, business personal assistant, and personal assistant like in ChatGPT and in Cloud, and I'm working on. I was buying like the packages of the team and everything, so I'm going to be the one doing this. So I am a visionary. I'm seeing stuff. I'm going in front of the parade, and I'm confident that the team has all the tools to manage it. So yeah, I used to be the communicator. I used to be the architect, but I'm 58. I'm moving up. It was like my CEO, between us, we and my sons, well, especially my CEO, taught me how to behave as a president, as an owner, by interaction with all the meetings that we had. And yeah, I'm loving to be the visionary, and I'm naturally a visionary. So.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So, you got to look at this. Now, when I'm helping businesses scale, I'm looking at these archetypes all the time. Like where's their coverage, where's their not coverage? And you're looking at it from multiple perspectives. You're looking at it from this, like, multiple people can hold several of these types of roles in several business units. And then do you have actual structural unit coverage? And so what's that org chart look like? And how is that going to help you scale? Do you have decentralized command? Is there decision-making power where it makes sense? On and on and on. Okay. So this is a key breakdown here for the importance of what you need to focus on, right? So Joe, I'm gonna lean on you again, man, to read this slide because you sound so great doing it. So hit us with the radio voice.
Sure, I'll orate. Okay, a symphony of leadership. A truly high-performing, growth-oriented business isn't built on one type of leader. It thrives on a symphony of diverse leadership archetypes, each playing a crucial role. By consciously cultivating these strengths within yourself and your team, you can build a resilient, adaptable, and successful enterprise, ready to conquer the challenges and opportunities of growth.
Yeah. So you got to kind of cover all of these bases, right? So let's go through it backwards. Financial steward, who is that? Who's your diplomat or cultural champion? Making sure that like it doesn't suddenly turn into, you know, debauchery in the ethics of your company. Who's your communicator connector? Sometimes this one gets leaned on for HR. Okay. I would lean more on this one being an HR role than somewhere else, but it could also be a head of operations or a head of administration or chief of staff type of role, right? The coach developer, right? Who's kind of monitoring that? Operator, executor. This is the one that I find most owners get stuck in, is that this is the hardest one for them to kind of go, oh, how do I actually get out of that? Because they built the business on their specialization. And so that's the trickiest one. The architect, I'll tell you how you get out of this. Become this. The way to get out of becoming the operator is to become the architect. Or you hire for the architect and they build this system and they build you out of this role. Okay, so that's a really, really important thing. And then the visionary. Okay, so those are this is your Mars mission. If you have this covered in 4 or 5 people, 6 people, maybe 7 people max, if you have this covered, you have the Star Trek landing team that's going to properly go where no one has gone before. So very, very important. Okay, so I'm going to revisit one more thing here as well, but let's open this up to some conversation. Colin, what's kind of showing up for you as we're talking about this?
It's definitely got me thinking about our organization and where everyone is and should be. And I feel like there's definitely some holes that need filling. And yeah, it's difficult to pick a proper COO where you need one and to have a good one to fill that role. Yeah, it's definitely needed and it's definitely going to progress our organization as a whole. But finding that perfect person, and because we're such a specialty industry, it takes we need someone who's got a lot of experience in our field to be that person. You can't have a COO of our field that doesn't have experience in it. They could be the most genius business person ever, but if they've never worked in death and dying, they won't understand what we have to do and what we go through and everything. So it's a challenge for sure, and it's going to be exciting and terrifying to go through the next 6 months to find that person.
Yep, for sure. Avril, what's showing up for you in this, either with you directly in the business or with your client interactions?
Yeah, actually, this is great. I wrote everything down. I went through each one of like who I was and my team. I do have a small team now that I hired on this year. So it was nice seeing their names on a couple numbers there, where it used to be only me. So that was kind of nice. And I'm kind of like going into 2026, pivoting a little bit of my business, setting my goals, seeing what I want coming out of 2026, the first quarter. So this is actually nice to just like a well-rounded, kind of like roles of like what our business entails. So I like it. So I'm just happy that it's just not all my name from 1 to 7. That's all. That's my take. So
yeah, perfect. And so just to bounce off of what you said as well, at that stage that you're at, the ability to with a lot of clarity and proper intention, build it knowing that that's the case is super important. I've got a client of mine. They have 360 staff, and they've got 5 different locations, and the leadership team is about 50 something people, right? And right now we're reverse engineering this whole process. It's like, it's harder to do later. Now, does it mean that it's not worthwhile? No, it means you still got to do it, because guaranteed you're going to get underperformance as the team size grows if you haven't created the clarity around what it is that you want people to do. And so, when I'm looking at doing like priority matrices and core objectives and impact study and all that sort of stuff, and what are the key results that you're going for, you're looking at all this stuff from the perspective of like, functionally, where are you in your leadership archetype at the same time? Not just the role and your job description, which is where sometimes the job description can just fall apart, because it's like, well, what do you mean my job description says that I need to be the architect strategist? It's like, well, yeah, kind of, right?
Right.
And people are going to gravitate towards this stuff behaviorally at the same time. The working genius is a tool that I like. It kind of covers some of this, right? Working from like wonder all the way down to tenacity. Colin, we've had some great success in your guys' business team in implementing that. And so we can kind of tie in there as well. Now, I want to bring up something that came up in the sub 5 group yesterday. When you're looking at these leadership archetypes, some of them are going to be better when it comes to operational efficiency versus strategy. And just to reiterate the difference between these two things, operational efficiency is the things that are the same in a business. So like, let's say I've got a plumbing company and I'm doing home service. The same thing in that business is showing up at someone's place, getting dispatched to their home, speaking to the homeowner, assessing what the problem is in the home, solving the problem, leaving, and giving them an invoice. Any home service plumbing company is going to have that be the same. And so, are you more operationally efficient with the same things in your business against your competition? Strategy is the thing that you are different. Where are you different? It's like, oh, okay, well, when we do a home evaluation, we do it this way. This is actually different. How we invoice is the same, but how we present options is different. Okay, so now we're looking at differentiators. And so the strategy of how you're going about your business is going to require different leadership archetypes to execute on. So am I having a strategy discussion, or am I having an operational efficiency discussion? If I've got priorities, are the priorities strategic, or are the priorities operational? Those are different discussions. And different leadership archetypes are going to look at the same problem in different ways. And so can you communicate strategic to someone who's very operationally focused? Can you communicate operationally to someone who's very strategically focused? And do you have a good combination of both? It's a very hard skill to develop in a leadership team.
I actually have a comment. So I'm a number 1, but my partner is a number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. But I do feel like all of the other stuff, I have to like, people don't own any of that stuff. They just, none of that other stuff happens unless I'm just like pushing buttons and pulling levers, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. So there's no sort of like there's no internally driven desire to step into those roles.
No.
Right.
It's like, hey, I need you to do this. Hey, I need you to do that. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. But it's just like, yeah, constantly. I don't know. I don't even know if it's taking people out of their comfort zone. It's just like, hey, this needs to be done, and I think you could do it. So, can you do this? And yeah, sometimes, like I said, it's done good, and sometimes it's not. So,
yeah. So this whole idea of like, this conversation showed up in a meeting I had this last week, where there was a scenario going on with a vacation policy process. And what happened was that there was this gap that was showing up between what the policy said, what the team at large was doing, and where the decision was being made downstream. So there was an issue going on when it came to leaders and their teams and who was actually aware that, hey, I have like not enough people to fulfill, like our capacity was dropping because vacation approvals were happening over here based off of a policy that was saying that this should happen, but it wasn't occurring, type of thing, right? So what ended up happening was we were like, okay, where does the accountability actually end up living? And is this a people problem? Because originally everyone was talking about this as being a people problem. And I kind of drilled down and kind of stayed on the topic for a good amount of time. I think we talked about it for almost 20 minutes. And I'm like, it ended up coming to the fore that it was not a people problem. It was not that the team was being non-compliant with the policy. It's that the structure that was created was not supporting the intent. And so to kind of tie back to what you're talking about, David, is sometimes we can create inadvertently structures that don't support the intent. And if the intent is for people to sort of step into some of these roles, have we created a structural backstop to make sure that those two things happen? And that's a very nuanced thing to kind of dive into.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it can happen from this, like, it happens for everything from like understanding like what are we trying to drive towards, what are the values that we're trying to say, on and on and on, all the way down to what's the system on how this actually operates. So and it's a pretty common thing to see where someone wants to say be the coach, but they're afraid of doing it, or someone wants to sort of like share like the cultural pillars, but there's nowhere to see where the cultural pillars live in the business. And they're like, well, I would love to do that, but where are they? And someone would love to be more fiscally sound, but they don't have the right data. And someone else is like, oh, I would love to develop this process, but I don't know if I have the authority to do it. And so then there's a structural imbalance towards how much give do we have? What does that look like? And what's your reporting structure look like? What's the priority matrix look like? Are we working on the right things, sequenced in the right way? It just gets more and more complex the larger the team gets, right? And then for you, David, you've got that add-on of regional separation between the two. So yeah, it's
for sure.
A really, really good point. So who would you send to Mars to come back to the to come back to this? I'm going to bring this. I love this picture. So who would you send to Mars?
Can we clone ourselves and send ourselves?
Well, see, that's the thing, right? Is that's what people are trying to do on Earth with their businesses, and it never works. Right? It doesn't work. And so the reason why we use Mars as the metaphor is that it's impossible. Someone has to stay at home base. You got to go to Mars.
I know if I clone myself, it'd be like the clone would be like, no, buddy, you're going to Mars.
Actually, our youngest son is designing a fictional setting right now, sort of based off of this whole idea of cloned versions. But then it comes down to, did they have the choice, and did they not have the choice, and the whole thing. But it's quite cool. All right, so leadership archetypes. The goal here is, can you take a look at your team that you want to build? So one of the things I do directly with teams, but you can also just do this on your own as well, just to get started, is look at your present org chart and then look at your future org chart. And you can look at this both by specific business unit or as a whole. Now I see a lot of mistakes with org charts though. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see in org charts is that the reporting line is missing. And I'm not crazy about flat. I find flat hierarchies was very popular for quite a while, and I don't see them being as successful today. It was a very, very diplomatic leadership style that existed for a while, very democratic leadership style that existed for a while, and it slows down decision making. And I'll tell you right now, we are in a business economy and a business ecosystem where speed is valued. And everyone's like, well, wouldn't it be faster for it to be flat? No, because guess who has say in flat hierarchies? Everybody. Instead, put the onus on specific leaders. Say, you have accountability, you have authority. This is what I want you to do. Here's what we want to have as priorities. Collaborate on what the drive and ambition and what the key results are for that particular project, and then move forward on it and expect some delivery. There's a little bit of a resurgence. Well, at least for me, I think that there's a bit of a resurgence. You guys can agree or disagree with this. On this idea of putting the onus back on people, because good people make good decisions. So, Ty and I were talking about this idea of like people are giving up their decision-making power to AI. I don't think that's a wise decision. I think that you use AI in the middle, to do the busy work in between, so you can make better decisions. The example I gave him was, I said, I took several day in the life assessments from different CEOs and executives, put it into Gemini, and said, what are the same things that are happening with these CEOs that look to be effective? What are the ones that look to be unique? And what are the ones that look to be redundant for the role for a growing company? It spat out this information. And then I'm like, okay, now what do I do with this? Now I'm starting to critically think through the data, but I don't want to have to sit there with 4 or 5 different assessments of day in the life on CEOs and go, okay, now highlight, that's the same, that's the same, that's the same, that's different, that's whatever, especially when they're all being given to me in different formats, right? So for me, it was the middle. It's like, I knew this is what I wanted to do. It took care of a little bit of the center admin component. And now I'm like discerning and extrapolating that information on the other side to make good decisions from an advisory standpoint for company development. So there's this balance point that's kind of happening. But because what happens if you guys AI messages me for a meeting and my AI messages you back for a meeting, and then our AIs just have a meeting, and then we look at the AI summary around the thing that our meeting was supposed to be about. It's like, right? Where's the value?
I love that you're calling this out, because this is literally why I built my AI literacy foundation course, because people are trying to replace their brains. And the reality is like AI can help you make decisions faster.
Mm-hmm.
You're still owning the decision, you're still doing the critical thinking, you're still doing the strategy, but it's such an incredible tool to speed up all the research and pulling things from here and highlighting things from here and comparing. And so I love that you're highlighting this, because too many people are trying to hand their brain over.
Yeah, totally. Now I'm going to go off topic here at the tail end of this, and I'll get some takeaways here in a moment. I was talking to Ty about this morning. There's a real scenario happening online right now called dead web. Anyone heard of this situation that's going on? Okay, so AI is pulling from information that exists online in the web.
Yes.
Okay, but what's happening is that the current infrastructure and ecosystem of the way the web works is that let's remove AI from the equation. I am looking for some information. I know that that information is on this website. The website, I go to the website, I do a click through. SEO has pulled me into that website, and I have what's called click through to the website, which can then turn into commerce and an online market, which might turn into a real world commerce, and commodity sale and whatever. But that's functionally what happens. Okay, that's our current way of functioning. It was our current way. Now what's happening is that you are looking for information. AI is pulling the information instead of pulling you into the website. It's pulling the website to you, but not bringing all of the content with you. So what's happening is that the click-through to the website has gone down. And right now, the initial reports are it's showing a drop of up to 80%. So effectively, we're asphyxiating localized business website. It's being choked. But all of the value from the website is being pulled into the AI output. So it's not unlike what happens in mining. Like we go into the earth and we mine precious goods and then bring them out and then we make chips out of them. It's not unlike that sort of economy. The only thing is that we're the ones that are investing in the mine's resource to start with. It's not already there. So there's no solution for this. This is going to happen at a way higher level than us. But if you guys are doing a SWOT analysis in the next 3 to 6 months, and you have an SEO campaign and a marketing campaign built around anything to do with drawing people as a click-through to your business, you're going to need to solve this problem. Yeah, so the term that's being thrown around right now is dead web as the concept. So I just want to throw that out. All right, let's do some takeaways from today. Ty, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, just major clarity. Growth mode right now, trying to build a bunch of leaders in our company. And I think it was just seeing the framework of this all, like most people have said, like, when you start a business, you're all 7. And the goal is to be just doing the visionary in my mind, from my perspective. I'm out of 3. I'm working my way through, but now it's like with Edwin's help, we've got a skills matrix that is all about developing skills in all our team. And one column is leadership, but now I've got something that I can really go into this deeper with, because leadership is like a high priority for me with a lot of my team members. So I think just crazy clarity on a lot of this is going to be very, very beneficial moving forward. So,
yeah, awesome. Thanks, Ty. Colin, take away.
Yeah, for myself is the 7 types of leaders, figuring out where I land in that and where the other leaders in our organization land in that, and how to best use the position that I'm in to help influence the company to make good decisions, progressing and growing our executive team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really nice. I'm glad you guys are making it super relevant to what's going on there. Keaton.
You said earlier in the session, you said the purpose never goes away. And so I wrote that down and I was like, yes, have to remember that. Building a business, you could forget the purpose, focusing on like all the ins and outs. And then it's like the 7 archetypes. Like I'm really thinking about like where the rest of the team fits into those. Like if I showed them in front of them and said, which ones do you think, or like kind of trend to, what do you think it is? I'd be very curious about that too. It's gonna help build out as we're going. So yeah. And the architect thing, going from operator to architect, like the only way to kind of pull yourself out of it. And that's kind of how I feel like that's what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like allowing me to actually focus on all this other stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Joseph.
I think for me, like the biggest thing that I kind of took away was I really liked the Mars analogy, because like I can kind of frame it as like it's a life or death scenario. Like there's no failing. Like you can't fail, otherwise the alternative is death. So I think putting it in that context, it really helps to like kind of visualize like, okay, like what people are definitively best for what roles, and like how can we clearly define those roles and make sure that they're assigned to the right people
Yeah,
because it's a life
nice.
and death scenario.
Great, man. Yeah, very well articulated. David, what's enough for you?
I mean, I think for me, probably, the call is just the confirmation of what I've been in pursuit of.
Hmm.
And the fact that I have been working on a lot of stuff, but not sure how it all melds together. And I think that's where you'll be able to help our company a bunch, is just like lay it out in a like step one, step two, step three sort of thing, rather than me trying to do everything all myself and try to articulate what I'm trying to do. So I think, but yeah, I think the um, just the previous guy's comment there. I think the Mars thing is interesting because it does make you think. Like, obviously, I know about all the or similar framework of what people's talents are and stuff with the working geniuses and stuff that we've done before, and a few other things with the OS and stuff. But um, me sort of just thinking about like who there's people like could probably who would I send to Mars or whatever, but like, are they the right fit? Are they the right person? Are they the ones I want to trust? And when the other commenter says like, if it is life or death, maybe those people, yeah, maybe they could sort of do it, but maybe they're not the best people. So that's where I guess some of the training and stuff comes in, right, from your side of things too. So
Yep, for sure. Yep, starting to give that like, hey man, you want to run with this ball? Like, I'll
yeah,
give it to you. There's where we want to go,
yeah.
Yeah. Super important.
I'm a big person on accountability. I love just handing people things and saying, hey man, make it yours. And I'll even let people make bad decisions, but
Mhm.
rather they didn't. But yeah, I think that yeah, if we can set up some sort of accountability, then yeah, it makes more sense and for tracking and stuff like that, yeah, it makes sense to let people do more and me do less, hopefully, right? So
Yep, that's the goal. I like it. Avril.
Hi, yeah, I think you nailed it in like almost like the first few minutes, which was our time is so valuable as CEOs and entrepreneurs. Like I like your question about the purpose and our mission, right? And the other thing is that, like Edwin, you're so good at breaking things down for us, like bite-sized pieces. I feel like we as an hour and a half is or the hour is long, but I think like you breaking it down into those 7 core like roles or relationships or archetypes. So that was my takeaway. And then I wrote down, I'm sending actually an email to my marketing girl. But I wrote down in my email right now, like, how are we different? And that's what I try to be in, having a marketing business. So I wrote that down and I bolded it in her email. Actually, it's like, how are we different? And then being strategically focused. I think you need to be like, as entrepreneurs, as you like focus, like you touched on like, sorry, what I was saying something and you're like, it's very in tune, or like, I'm very focused into going into 2026. So like, I like that too. Like having, I forget the word now, but yeah, just being like
Intention.
intention. Thank you. Having that intention, I think, is very important. So there's a big component there. That's my takeaways. But
Yeah.
anyway, thank you.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Ashley.
I think the biggest takeaway for me has been recognizing what role I've played in different organizations at different times. And then since I am all 7 right now for myself, recognizing where do I truly gravitate? What is my strength? What is my true type versus, okay, I can do this or I can fill in here, and maybe I've been this person in another organization, but as I'm growing a company and I look to scale and I look to hire leaders down the road, where do I want to live versus where do other people bring a strength that is a hard, like you said, you have a hard skill, you can do the thing, but that doesn't mean that that's like where you should be in the business. So that's my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, very good. Sylvain?
I can see in my enterprise that it's pretty well. I can see who's the visionary, the code. I'm a little bit not sure about the communicator connector, but I think that part could be split in different persona. What I see in that is as some business are a little bit smaller, like you, Ashley, you could be all seven, but what's helping is like your strength is more in, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you know that 5, 6, 7, you want to maybe find somebody that's going to go towards those three parts, and then you start building, and then you let go to stuff here and there. But I'm pretty sure there's even in a bigger organization, people who are having like 3, 4, 5 of them, but there's a champion. Always there's a champion in those ones. At this moment, maybe some people are the champion for all of the seven, but um, it's just a start where the next steps are going through, and then you can complete yourself with the weaknesses that you have, that maybe number 4 or 5 is less your cup of tea. So no, I like it. um, I like the approach. I really like that.
Great. Thanks, Sylvain. Simone, close us out. You're on mute.
Sorry,
There
I
you go.
was doing double screens.
Ah.
I really like the leadership archetypes because as a business owner, you can see what you're missing and where you're overcompensating in whatever 1 through 7. So I really like that breakdown. It kind of gives a clearer picture of what's going on.
Very good. Right on. So yeah, next session will be January 30th. And I've got the leadership psychology on Thursdays at 9. If anyone's interested in that, let me know. Sub $5 million group is going really, really well as well. That's at 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoons. Obviously nothing happening next week due to the holidays. And Simone and I were talking about the business workshop as well, the in-person one. Right now, I'm just waiting on when my hip replacement is going to happen, so I got to figure everything around that. But there will be another in-person, and I might make it a 2-day event as well. So for those of you who I'm not doing direct retreats with, I've got about 3 retreats lined up for the beginning of the year. But if I'm not doing direct retreats, that's a really great opportunity to get convergence on a whole bunch of different people. So there'll be a whole bunch of stuff coming down the pipeline. My word for 2026 is most likely, this year was push. 2026, I'm heavily leaning on simplicity.
Oh.
Like, how can we make this just like clean, all signal, no noise, simplicity? And because I think that things are getting very noisy out there in the world, and if we can figure out a way to just like create less friction points and go like this, and that's how my business operates, that's going to be an accelerator. So right on. Have a great Christmas, everybody. Have a happy New Year.
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.